Hey guys, this is McGreevy here. I'm bringing you my first commentary video. I already have many videos that I could have put commentary over, but I decided that the first one should be the Deja Vu mission of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. And the reason I decided this is because I've been gaming since I was about 4 or 5 years old, thanks to the influence of my older siblings. But the one game series that I've loved more than any other since I was that young has been the Metal Gear Solid series. Now, my thoughts on Ground Zeroes. In terms of the plot, you don't get as much as you'd like, although it is a short game. So the one mission that I loved by far was the Deja Vu mission for Ground Zeroes. Now, when I played this, the first thing that came to my mind was the gameplay of the Act 4 Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, Twin Suns, when you go back to Shadow Moses and you go through all these not cutscenes, but like the little flashbacks that come up. And it's all very similar to this stuff. I mean, you go to the different points in the map and you'll get audio flashbacks in MGS4, and it would remind you, or if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 1, let you know about the sort of conversations that Snake had, or the different actions that went through at those parts. As much fun as Deja Vu was for me, wasn't as good. I mean, you can't really compare it to Act 4 for Metal Gear Solid 4. I kid you not. Oh, I literally cried when I entered Shadow Moses in that act of Metal Gear Solid 4. And the reason that is because I had finished Metal Gear Solid 1 multiple times when I was a child. I loved that game. But after I stopped using my PlayStation 1 and I gave it away, or it was given away, I can't remember how that went out, but after I had lost contact with my PlayStation 1, there was no way I could play Metal Gear Solid 1. The downloaded version of Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS Store didn't come out until well after Metal Gear Solid 4 had been out. I think at least 12 months between the release of Metal Gear Solid 4 and the release of Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1. So the reason I cried is because it was just so nostalgic. I hadn't seen Shadow Moses since years ago when I played MGS1. So you can guess that when MGS1 came out on the PS Store, I took full advantage of it. It was $15 I was really happy to pay. So yeah, I mean, that's my explanation of why I had such an emotional reaction of Act 4 Twin Suns from MGS4, is because all these memories just come back and your emotions kind of sync with that of Snake, if you can understand that. By that I mean, you sort of feel what he's feeling, but you feel it more because Snake is such a rugged, strong, sort of even emotionless character, that you feel sad that he doesn't feel sad. I mean, out of all the flashbacks that happen, I mean, the best one to display that would be the one when you're on the outside before you enter the base and you come to where the camera is, the first surveillance camera, and you hear that audio flashback of Snake saying, "A surveillance camera?" And then the camera just like falls off its mount and just lands on the floor and is destroyed, and Snake just kind of steps forward and looks up to where the camera was, and like that shot, that angle was just so perfect to gauge an emotional reaction from the player. I think that if you hadn't played the other main games before Metal Gear Solid 4, if you hadn't played in MGS 1, 2, or 3, you're going to miss out on a lot. That's the problem with the Metal Gear Solid games. I mean, if you haven't been involved in any of the games before, and you really want to get involved, you have to put in the effort to play MGS 1, MGS 2, Sons of Liberty, MGS 3, Snake Eater, and then MGS 4. The games you can kind of miss out on are Peace Walker, Portable Ops, But I wouldn't recommend that. If you really can and you can afford, you can get a PSP or a Vita. I highly recommend getting Portable Ops. It's a really good game. But Peace Walker, on the other hand, is it's not my favorite game in the series, but I believe it's the best made game in terms of the gameplay, the plot structure, how the characters are developed. It's a very, very good game. The reason it's not my favorite is because MGS3 will always be my favorite. And there's a short story regarding why I have this passion for Metal Gear Solid 3, and the reason is, I never actually owned that game as a child. What I would do is I would rent it from my local Blockbuster multiple times. I would rent it over and over and over again. And eventually got to a point where Blockbuster was going bankrupt and I could no longer rent MGS3. And this is a time when PS3 was becoming really big, but I still wanted to play on my PS2. And I went to at least 5 different EB games, which, if you're an American, it's like the son/daughter company of GameStop. I went to like the 5 closest EB Games shops to try and find a copy of Metal Gear Solid 3, and I just couldn't. So eventually, I begged my parents to buy it off the internet, and yeah, I ended up picking up MGS3 off the internet, and I finished that game at least 10 times. The reason it's my favorite is because it has the most interesting boss battles, in my opinion, excluding Psycho Mantis' boss battle from MGS1. You can never top that. It had the camouflage system, which I believe is the best camouflage system implemented in any of the Metal Gear Solid games. And out of all the MGS games, excluding MGS4, because that's like the plot climax for Solid Snake, out of MGS1, 2, and 3, and Peace Walker, the one that made me cry the most at the ending was definitely Metal Gear Solid 3, because it's just that connection that Big Boss, or Naked Snake, had with the boss, and that final boss battle when you had to, spoiler alert, execute her, because that's what your orders were. I just couldn't handle that. That was very intense for me. And then on top of that, the reveal that Eva makes to you through audio recording at the end of the game, that just made it worse. That was just so intense. But yeah, I mean, that's why I believe Metal Gear Solid 3 isn't, I can't say it's the best game out of the series, but it's definitely my favorite. Also because of that little story I was talking about, where I rented it over and over again, and eventually ended up buying it. But yeah, I mean, I played pretty much every Metal Gear Solid game in the series, from Metal Gear 1 through to Ground Zeroes. The only games I haven't played are Acid 1 and Acid 2. There are more Metal Gear Solid games, but I think there's a couple on like Nokia mobile devices, so you can't really count those. It's not really fair to say I'm not a true fan if I haven't played those games. But yeah, I mean, I've played every game: MGS1, MGS2, MGS3, Guns of the Patriots, Rising Revengeance, Ground Zeroes, Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Portable Ops. I've played them all. Yeah, looks like this gameplay is coming to an end, so hopefully you get a bit of a gauge of how much I love this series. Catch you later.